Hello all. My name is Meeta Palmer and I'm currently associated with Endeavour. This is the academic arm of online learning. My background is in medicine, and through clinical practice, it led me to a quest of different modalities or healing therapies. With a background in homeopathy and alternative medicine from India, my experience with patients stimulated my interest in inheritance or genetics as the cause of disease. This led me to complete a master's in genetic counseling. And this really assists me working with families or individuals where symptoms or illnesses can be linked to inheritance. However, through diet and lifestyle, some alleviation can be achieved. This is when I started looking into various different modalities, therapeutic strategies as you might call it, and came across one of the disciplines that comes from my home country, Ayurvedic medicine or Ayurveda. Let's take time to understand the concept of Ayurvedic medicine. The objectives for the presentation: define Ayurveda, just a basic history and origin of Ayurvedic medicine, doshas or concept in Ayurvedic medicine of how this leads to disharmony or dishealth, strategies of treatment, a basic treatment, punch karma, and yoga as a physical treatment that some of you might have come across. Ayur, life. Veda, the knowledge. Origins from Sanskrit words. Ayurveda, life and knowledge of living and leading that life. As I was growing up, you would find elders talking about Vedas. Until I started studying medicine, I could not put the connection that this is how ancient individuals as they were growing up, or people as they were growing up in the hometown of India, would put down the basic experiences and aspects of life into this Vedic literature or pieces that then started forming the basis of various different branches of living. Ayurveda is a blend of science and philosophy. It believes in a balance of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. A holistic approach, basically, where most of the complementary or natural medicine would come from. As you start learning more about these therapies, you will find that this science or this philosophy would become a daily part of your living. Prevention and healing, two aspects of the philosophy of Ayurvedic medicine. This can be achieved through purification and rejuvenation. I will go through the details of how we get to this appropriate art of living, which helps us to achieve longevity. I wish we could all get that, because you all want good, healthy life. And therefore, the emphasis for Ayurvedic medicine, or any complementary medicine you'd come across, would be prevention of disease. I suppose somewhere Australian government or other organizations as World Health Organization have realized that prevention is better than cure, and therefore you'll find a lot of different strategies that have gone into helping people live a healthy life and therefore prevent disease or disharmony. And this form of medicine is just one of those ways by which you can achieve that. The beginnings, I suppose, could be linked to Hinduism, which is a form of religion or practice in India. And it would have started in the inner parts of the Himalayas, where most of the herbs or most of the treatment aspects that are used with the Ayurvedic medicine would have come from. And it would have come because as evolution and as humans started going out, hunting, getting food, civilization came about, you would start exposing yourself to external factors that otherwise wouldn't come your way. And these external factors would influence your inner imbalance and therefore would lead to disharmony, as we call it, or dis-ease, that is away from symptoms of health. And so you would start looking at what can you do to restore this balance so that you can continue with your life. And that's how they would come up with different strategies of herbs or other things. And so this initiation of treatment came around India, Nepal, which is on the northern borders, Ladakh, and closer borders of China. And this is where I see connection between the traditional Chinese medicine and some of the principles that they apply to the principles of Ayurvedic medicine, and which you yourself will pick up as you start learning a bit more about the various or the different methods of healing. All of this is captured, or all of these principles of Ayurvedic medicine are captured in basic medical texts, and they are written in Sanskrit, obviously now translated in English, or Hindi, which is the local language for some of these cities or some of these places where education is given in Ayurvedic medicine. The industry in India is actually controlled by the government or by the health system through Ayush, A-Y-U-S-H, which is Ayurveda, Yoga, Unani, and homeopathic methods. It's a registered profession, as you would see it, and you will find that practicing individuals are doctors who are trained in mainstream and can apply strategies or therapies for acute situations and then help the individual to come to a balanced life through preventive and other therapeutic methods for chronic illnesses. It would be good if you could get an opportunity to go and attend some of the clinics or observations in places like these, where it is not complementary or alternative medicine, however, part of mainstream medicine and therefore part of how people live. And so when you would be studying Ayurvedic medicine, so also in Australia now, when you're studying your complementary medicine, you would study basic topics ranging from anatomy, physiology, to detailed understanding of pathology, diagnosis, treatment, lifestyle, and how would you manage a patient with a set of symptoms. In India, basic surgery also forms part of Ayurvedic medicine. I won't go through the details of all these several branches. However, as you can see, individuals practicing Ayurvedic medicine or Ayurvedic doctors that you might come across would specialize in all these different aspects or branches. Although the basic philosophy is a holistic one, you do tend to affirm or you tend to get an attraction towards treating or helping or motivating individuals with certain aspects or certain types of illnesses. For example, you might want to work with fertility, or you might want to work with helping people prepare themselves for a pregnancy and then the family for birth. So all these special branches exist in India, where it is a registered profession. In Australia, of course, all of these would be referred to a practitioner or a doctor or a specialist, and you would complement with full consent of the patient in any of these illnesses or aspects. So how does Ayurvedic medicine utilize or usualize a human being? It's a unique phenomenon of consciousness manifested through 5 basic elements. Panch Kambhutas. 5 is Panch, and you'll come across this as we study a bit more about Ayurvedic medicine. Some Sanskrit words that still are used to understand the concepts. These 5 elements are space, air, earth, water, and fire. Traditional Chinese medicine also has these elements. And these elements would exist in a combination in an individual through 3 humors or dosha. Vat, Pit, Kaph. Vat, combination of space and air. Pit, combination of fire and water. Kaph, combination of water and earth. I suppose this is a way to classify or put into a repertoire when you get so many individuals, so many different people coming through with a set of symptoms. You start observing patterns. And through the literature, what I've appreciated is somehow you need to be able to put them in a specific order, or somehow be able to analyze or break down this information to be able to perceive and then remediate our action. And in Ayurvedic medicine, this concept is through diagnosing or asserting individuals to having a predominant type of a dosha and then a combination of a couple of others. So this is referred to as a constitution. And you'd come across constitutions in other disciplines too. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, the constitution, a balance of Pit, Vat, Kaph. Kaph, anabolism, making of things. You'd come across this in physiology. Catabolism, breakdown, as Vata, and Pitta, metabolism. Just a balance of these 3 things is the natural order. And when this balance is upset, high, low, more, less, is when you would slowly start seeing the beginnings of disharmony. Concept of constitution, no individual is made up of one element. It's a balance of all these 3 elements. There's an equilibrium, and this basic constitution decided or starts or inherited at birth. And sometimes there are certain deficiencies that you would inherit, and should circumstances or environmental influences disharmony or imbalance, then you would manifest the symptoms of this disharmony through disease or ill health. And a combination of these elements governs the continuous pathophysiological changes in the body and tries to alter its response to bring it back to what we call as harmony. So you could imagine or you could visualize that you've got a pendulum and that's hanging through, and there's a range or a spectrum that the pendulum can move through, and influences as they come through would take you into the negative aspect, would bring you into the positive aspect. And so what you're trying to do, or your vital force or prana is trying to do, is trying to keep this in the center, in the balance. And we all know how difficult this is, seeing the stresses of life today. It was very simple then, I suppose. So to summarize, order or health, disorder, disharmony, dis-ease. And this order and health is governed or kept in balance by Agni, which is the digestive fire. The bodily fluids, or the bodily vata, karma, and pitta in equilibrium. Great emphasis on eliminations, which are the physiological functions: urine, feces, sweat. So if your body is in harmony, your digestion is good, these three basic elimination processes would definitely be to its optimum. And that is the way that you would measure whether this person is in the state of health or dishealth. And this therefore would conclude or inference that the body tissues, as outlined there, Ras, Rakt, Mas, Med, Ashti, Maja, Artva, they're all functioning normally. These are Ayurvedic terms in Sanskrit, which relate to different body tissues, like your blood, your connective tissue, your heart tissue, your muscle tissue, which you will learn in your physiology. And obviously, when these tissues, meaning the cells, are in balance, the connection of these cells into the systems are in balance. And therefore, the products of elimination of toxicity, which is the urine, feces, and sweat, are in balance. So your mind, your consciousness can function to the highest level, and so you can be productive. You can carry on with your business of life. It's when there is an imbalance somewhere along these lines that would lead to disease. And this disease could happen acutely, straight, bang. Or, most often, what I have noticed in clinical practice, that this disease or disharmony, starting from a cellular level or a vital force, pranic, energetic level, continues chronically, progresses slowly over a period of time. And depending upon your individual constitution or dosha, you could have a high or a low of any one of those three basics: Pit, Vat, Kaph. So health in Ayurveda is order, disease is disorder. As the body is in constant interaction between order and disorder, and this dosic balance, when it's disturbed, it creates imbalance, and this leads to disease. How can you expose yourself to becoming diseased? Because there's a homeostasis. There's a balance through your lifestyle, through, proper balanced diet, that would allow you to stay in this perfect, complete harmony. It's when you yourself, and yes, we all are guilty of so, wrong diet, wrong habits, those long nights, that lifestyle of, let's just not worry about cooking today, let's not worry about salads, that's so much hard work, let's just get a takeaway. What combination of food? Let's just milk and fish and mix whatever we can from a physical aspect, and repression or stresses from a mental, emotional, psychological aspect can over a period of time imbalance that delicate sensitivity that exists within the vital force or within the chi, within the prana. Every philosophy you will find is governed by this energetic life form. And when this is disturbed, the Vata, Pitta, Kapha undergo aggravation, intense, more of, or dearrangement. And therefore it affects this Agni, or basic digestion, or gastric fire that exists, and therefore it starts producing ama, or toxins. And it's these toxins that would enter into the bloodstream and start clogging and coagulating through circulation of it in the body. And these toxins from Western medicine, would be labeled or would be identified as high of this specific ion, electron. Basically, from an Ayurvedic medicine perspective, it's this disharmony, this disarrangement of the basic things that we saw earlier. Elimination of urine, feces, and sweat. When that gets disbalanced, the toxins start staying in the blood. So you start getting toxemia. Over a period of time, this accumulated toxicity affects your prana, which is your vital life. That's your energy. It affects your ojas, which is your immunity. And it affects your tejas, which is the metabolic energy. And as you can see, these three vital important functions are getting affected. And therefore your capacity to eliminate these toxins from the body decreases. Sometimes it might go very, very low. And so therefore, successfully, this will result into disease. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that the vital force, the vital energy, it's very strong. And I've seen this in clinical practice. We might think everybody's so sick, everybody's so unhealthy, everybody's just, falling to pieces. However, if you actually go and take a detailed history for this individual person that comes to you in the clinic, you will find that the initial signs, the subtle signs of tiredness, weakness, lethargy, just not able to control basic emotions, not able to be basically productive in the everyday living, are the beginnings of ill health. And what do? We just ignore them, we put a Panadol, we take other tablets, other things, and eventually, because we've ignored the signs of the cause of this, they start building up into what we call as toxins, into a chronic disorder. And unfortunately, if you do have tendencies or genetic inheritance that has come through for these chronic diseases, it acts as a trigger to manifest this imbalance. So every disease is a crisis of this ama or toxicity. And the best way to prevent the disease is to eliminate. Basically, don't allow these toxins to accumulate into the body. I suppose easier said than done. I myself have been guilty of all those wrongdoings, as we call it. So it's good for me to read this again and talk to you about it. Proper diet and lifestyle. We've all heard this over and over. And so consciously, you have to make the decision. Good and healthy habits, exercise, and a proper cleansing program if unfortunately you've started accumulating those toxins and they've started collecting in the system and giving an imbalance in your three doshas, your Vata, Kapha and Pitta, then you have to get some help. You have to get something to bring that in balance. Remember that pendulum we talked about? Bring it back in balance because it's gone too onto one of the sides of negativity or ill health. Bring it into balance and then try to keep it as much in balance as possible. I suppose you'd love to sit in a bubble. However, then you would miss out on so many important and really fantastic opportunities that you would get in life. So the basic principle of any complementary medicine, be it Ayurveda, homeopathy, TCM, or I would suppose basic philosophy of living the life would be enjoy everything, moderation, and make sure that you are able to put through the basic principles that will guide you and bring you back in balance. And should you have gone in imbalance, seek assistance, seek help, motivate yourself. Sometimes you might need acute treatment. Sometimes you might need surgery. Go and have it. But from that point, change your attitude, change those habits so that you don't fall in that pattern or that cycle again. So you take yourself to an Ayurvedic physician